All right, some new data here about our youngest demographic in the workforce, and this actually is not exclusive to Gen Z. I'm parenting 3 Gen Z, so I'm very passionate about Gen Z. I don't want Gen Z to be labeled in some sort of negative way because there are duds and donkeys, if you will, in every generation, and there are eagles in every generation. So every generation kind of just gets in this vibe of, well, we're going to kind of crap on the younger generation and just talk about how we're better. And so, for heaven's sakes, I'm Gen X. They couldn't think highly enough of us to give us anything other than X. You know what I mean? And the generation below us, millennials, got a cool name. Sounds like maybe something out of Star Wars. Like, remember the Millennial Falcon? Like, that's kind of cool. I get X. My generation, they just call us X. They don't even know what to call us. And we're a little bit bitter about it. I'm not going to lie. Then you got Gen Z. That sounds kind of cool. There's a term for them called mosaics, but nobody uses it. So anyway, this is very interesting data and applies to everybody. You ready? Here we go. New data says that 3 in 4 Gen Zers, 75% for those of you keeping score, will resign if they don't get consistent feedback from their managers. Now, you could see that headline and some of you could go, bunch of little sensitive snowflakes, and I don't see that at all. In fact, I think the number should be higher, and I think it's great that Gen Z is asking for that. We'll get into why in a minute. By the way, this is not a Gen Z issue. This is an everybody issue. This is called being a human. Every one of us, men and women, listen to me, every one of us still has that little boy or that little girl inside of us that longs to be told by our parents and coaches and teachers, those who have influence over us, hey, I see you. I see value in you. You are loved. You are good. You are worthy. We still long for this. We don't ever escape that. New research from Staff Circle, which is an employee success platform, found that 73% of Gen Z employees said they are more likely to leave an organization if they don't receive frequent managerial feedback and communication. Now, those are two different things. So I am talking to leaders, and I'm talking to those of you in Gen Z. How do we react to this? Now, there's two different things here in that statement. They want frequent feedback and communication, two very different things. Yes, you do have to communicate to get feedback, but feedback is, where do I stand? How am I doing? This goes way back in our existence to elementary school. Probably 2nd, 3rd grade for me. I'm guessing young Ken Coleman wrote a couple notes to some girls. Do you like me? Yes, no, or maybe. Remember that? You fold it up and you slide it over to the little girl that you're interested in, and you're a ball of nerves. What's she going to say? What's he going to say? And let's be honest, too, while we're at this illustration. We would rather get a no than a maybe. Because if I get a no, I can move on to the other girl. Maybe I'll throw the ball at her at recess and see if she pays attention to me. We want to know where we stand. Does everybody get that? The no is soul crushing. But we can respond and move on from that. We can get up. Okay, that hurt. You know what the maybe is? The maybe is soul sucking, and that's worse. Because I don't know. I don't know where I stand. So understand this about ourselves. I don't care what generation you are in, all of us at our core humanness, our deepest insecurities is about, am I valued? So understand that. None of us get to escape it. So that's the first part, which is, where do I stand? And leaders, you want to know where you stand. If your leader's not telling you, you're wondering. And by the way, the feedback loop is awful. When we don't get real feedback from our leader, guess what we do? We start to fill in the gap, and boy, can that be dangerous. So feedback was first. Then communication, just, hey, here's what we're doing. Here's why we're doing it. Here's how we're going to do it. Here's why we're going to do it. Constant communication. Constant communication. Moving on. Now, here's what's interesting. 73% of Gen Z said we want that. Feedback and consistent communication. But watch the numbers drop with the older generations. Only 52% of non-Gen Z employees said the same. Do I think that non-Gen Z, that means Xers like me or millennials are different? No, I just think that the expectation is lower. I think these younger generation is going, you know what? We want the feedback. Now, I will say this very quickly. This generation, it's not Gen Z's fault. I got some Gen Zers out in the lobby. Hear me, young men. This is not a slam. It's not your fault. And maybe your parents didn't do it. But I've been guilty of it. I got 3 Gen Zers. I got a 15, a 16, I got a 14, a 15, and a 18 right now. Can't even keep them all straight. My generation, as parents, has coddled this generation more than any other previous generation. They've had a cell phone in their hand since the time they were 1.5 just to keep them quiet at Applebee's. It's all they've ever known is instant gratification. They're now the 3rd generation that hasn't kept score at youth soccer. And so they get trophies for just showing up. So their whole life they've just been told, if you just show up, we're going to give you a trophy. They've been hovered. They've got helicopter parents. Not you guys. I know this isn't true of you guys. But they got helicopter parents that we save them every time they hurt. I tell you something. When I played sports, Bob, if I got hurt and my mom started to stand up, my dad would have said, sit down. Now we got parents rushing the field. Oh, my baby. Sit down. That was a little side note. Here's my point. They have been coddled. They have been taught. They have had all this hovering. So now they're getting into the workforce, and it's a good thing. Bad cause, good effect. And the good effect is they're craving mentorship. They're saying, lead me, speak to me. Leaders, wake up. This Gen Z could be the best generation that the American workforce has ever seen if you will lead them. They want to be led. All right, there's my soapbox. Keep going here. By the way, I could turn the show off right now, and that's worth a lot of money to leaders if you'll pay attention to what I just said. You got to lead them. You got to teach them. You do have to hold their hand. And I know it sucks, leaders, because you want to do all these other things, but that is leadership. Lead them. Show them how. They will step up. The majority of employees, this is so sad, and this isn't just affecting Gen Z. Just 15% of employees have regular weekly check-ins with their leaders. That means 85% are going through a week and having no check-in with their leader. That's pathetic. 76% of American employees only have one check-in per month. Leaders, get your head out of your you-know-what. What are you doing where you don't have time to speak to on a regular basis your team? By the way, here's 2 little quick tips. It'll change your leadership forever. Ask them 2 questions once a week. How are you doing? That's a personal question. How you doing? You okay? I know your mom's been going through cancer treatment. How are you doing? How's she doing? Just lean into their life. And then secondly, how can I help you win in your role? Do you have enough resources? Do you need more training? Can I pick up some slack? First of all, they're going to look at you like you're an alien because nobody leads that way, but it's that simple. And I'm telling you, it'll change the game. Employees are likely to stay at a company if they feel like that you're pouring into them. And I said it on Fox News last week. I'll say it again. Leaders, those of you out there that aren't happy in your work, if you aren't in a place where the leader is leading you to a better life, then it's time to probably go somewhere else. Leaders, you want people to stay? You want to recruit really great people? Show people that if they work for you, that they're not just going to get a promotion and a paycheck, they're going to have a better life. Show them a ladder to a better future, and they will follow you. They'll charge hell with a water pistol. I promise you. You got to lead them. It's that simple. All right, I want to stay on this topic. Playing off of our last segment here, GE, General Electric, longtime CEO of General Electric was Jack Welch. I had the privilege of interviewing Jack Welch years ago. The guy was just a leader's leader. And so they did a study recently on views of leadership development in the workplace. And so this is a very interesting dovetail of what I was just talking about. The survey's called From the Ground Floor to the Corner Office, and here's some things they found. By the way, we got a massive disconnect right now in the world of work. And for the leaders and for the employees that can figure out how to bridge the gap, and it's pretty simple, I'm going to get to it in a moment. Let me tell you something. You're going to blow the competition away. Let me just say something else while I'm on this. Your innovative ability to come up with a great idea is not the difference maker. It's not going to separate you from your competition. Let me give an example. I'm a big football fan. By the way, I'm supporting my beloved Michigan Wolverines. All you haters can say whatever you want to in the comments. I'm not going to read it. So knock yourself out. Could care less what you say. I don't read the comments. I love football. I love all sports. I love basketball. Of the two sports that I love the most, it would be football and basketball. I love the X's and O's, and I love watching teams become assembled. Now, let me just say this. In football or basketball, talent and X's and O's matter tremendously. They really do. They really do. They are the difference maker. Ask Bill Belichick how important it is to have a talented quarterback. Oh, too soon, Patriots fans? Truth is, Bill Belichick sucks without a great quarterback. Look at his record. It's not my opinion. These are facts. Sorry, Patriots fans. It's the reality. I'm just calling it like I see it. Look at his career winning record. It's below 500. Oh, he's the greatest. I don't think he is. I'll tell you who the greatest is. Tom Brady's the greatest. By the way, anybody want to know where Tom went to school? Michigan. Thank you very much. What, Nathan? Shake your head all you want to. It's the game. It's this week. I'm a little geeked up right now. Okay? Don't get me started on your Vikings. All right. Yeah, look at he wants to talk now. Look at he's trying to find his mic. Got to scramble. Yeah, okay, great. Brady's overrated. All right, here we go. A fun rabbit trail here. The point I'm making is that in sports and in general, it's talent and X's and O's, and that's the difference maker, okay? It is about talent and X's and O's. But I can tell you this, the greatest X's and O's never matter if the talent says, we're not playing today. Or if the talent says, we're going to step up and we're going to will ourselves to win the game. In the corporate world, it's similar. This new study from GE found that 95% of C-suite and 81% of entry-level respondents believe it is important that a leadership mindset is communicated to the staff. But there's a big disconnect between what senior executives and entry-level employees think about how the company embodies their leadership mindsets. So here's the point I was making about sports. You can have the greatest playbook in the world. You can have all the X's and O's, but you got to win on the field. All the film watching, all of the play calling, it's great. But at the end of the day, it's what happens on the field. We got to line up and under pressure, execute the play. It's no longer about the play call. Once the play comes in, the coach calls it for the point guard or the quarterback has to play. At that point in time, it is now about execution of the play. Are we going to do what we're supposed to do? Well, there's a huge disconnect, as I said. 90% of C-suite respondents said their executive teams embody the leadership mindset, meaning they're leading the way that we want them to lead. This is from the execs. 90%, oh yeah. Everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. It's kind of like the clueless parent of a teenager. Oh yeah, my kid's a good kid, and everybody else is going, okay. Word has not gotten back to them. You know what I'm talking about? Too soon? Stepping on some toes this morning? I don't know. But less than 60% of entry-level staff feel the same way. Now, keep in mind, entry-level staff are going to be a lot of Gen Zers. So Gen Zers are going, I think there's a pretty good disconnect between what you think our leadership development looks like and our leadership mindset and leadership habits looks like versus what we see. Only 68% of entry-level employees feel as though their company support their development as strong leaders. So that the 90% think We're doing a good job developing these youngsters. And the youngsters are going, I don't feel like I'm being developed. Now, this is, again, on leadership. Maybe leadership is doing a good job, but Gen Z doesn't think they are. Where's the disconnect? Are you giving them a chance to model what you're teaching them? So, for instance, again, back to sports. I coach all my kids in multiple sports. If I'm teaching my kids a sport and I'm just teaching in practice, and then I don't say, all right, go do the drill, and we see how you do in the drill, or I don't put them in position in the game, by the way, listen, practice is awesome. It's the preparation. But at some point, we got to put down the practice gear, and we got to get in the game and put ourselves under pressure, right? And so leaders, are you giving these young employees opportunity to show what you're teaching them? Can they recreate it? That's the idea. When it comes to attracting the right leaders for their organization, 92% of C-suiters claim these characteristics play a role in hiring, but only 75% of entry-level employees agree that the characteristics are involved. 80% of entry-level employees in the survey say that leadership training is a meaningful benefit. Now, that there's going, I want to lead. For employees who say they understand the company's leadership mindset, over 95% say their company's on the right track. And over 50% say their company's ahead of others. This is huge. That data right there is unbelievably positive. In other words, what the data is showing us is that when employees have a very clear message and expectation about what leadership development growth is going to look like, it shows that when you talk about it consistently, you have to back it up, and thus the pressure's there to back up what you're saying. In other words, leaders, you're eating what you're cooking. And people see that and they go, all right, I know what the clear expectation is. So the last two segments that really dovetail together because there's two applications for leaders first and foremost. Because I know I'm talking to a lot of you out there who want to grow, you're on the growth path. Listen, the ability for you to be a winning leader and set yourself from the pack, set yourself apart, and keep growing is this right here, where you have people who go, I know what they want from me. I know why they want it from me. I know how I'm supposed to deliver it. This is just communication. And then don't forget, they show me where I stand. Hey, you're doing great here. Great job. Recognizing people, rewarding people, communicating with people. It's a game changer. Those three things. Communicate clearly, and then recognize it for what they do well and reward them along the way. And I'm going to tell you something right now. Absolute game changer. You'll have a winning team, and you're going to separate yourself from the pack. All right. You matter. You have what it takes. This is the Ken Coleman Show. Press on.
Thanks for listening to the Ken Coleman Show. For more, you can find the show on demand wherever you listen to podcasts and watch the show on YouTube. You can also find Ken across all social media by following @Ken Coleman.